Hi YouTube, Marko with Marko Custom Models coming today from my hobby room for the 24-hour build challenge. And as you can see see behind me, there's a lot of kits that I have here in my collection and stuff I'm working on. But anyway, today we're focusing on building the 1967 Plymouth GTX Hemi, or Belvedere Hemi, right? So that's probably what I'll turn it into today. We have some paints here that I'll be using for spraying on the car. I'm going to use this color orange here. It was on sale at our local Princess Auto for $5, so I bought a couple cans. I know it's not a color that would have come on this car from factory, but it'll be mild custom. It's got some cardboard tape, something to cover after I paint it. I'll do that. I'll get into the paint job. This is just a cab that I'm painting for a friend of mine, and that's the place I'll lay out the stuff. And then of course my hobby desk that you see me do all my filming on is right here, and this is where I'll be working on it. Also, I want to add that I'm going to put on red line tires. I find the Revell monogram tires too big, so I'm going to like an AMT style tire. These ones are already red lines on them. And then I'm going to use the wheels out of the California Patrol Highway car, the 1978 Dodge Monaco. And then I'm going to have to use some AMT wheel backs to go along with that package to make a wheel tire combo for the car. That's the plan. So those are the custom modifications I'm going to make. So it's about 10 minutes away where I can get that box open and get everything started. But I just wanted to go through. Oh, I can't open the box. I want to show you something. I did get that body straight, so here's that body, and if you look at it, it's a little better than it was, actually a lot better. It doesn't seem to have much of a bend to it, so the rest of the model should hold that together. So I was able to save that body. So I did that beforehand because I figured, hey, I'll just start with the straight kit. I don't think that'll affect me. So anyway, that's ready to go. Also, I showed how that body was straightened, so if you take a look, here's the process I did. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just putting the body in hot water, boiling water actually, and trying to get that kink out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now hold it in the opposite direction of the twist. Let's see if it'll come back. You see how it's got a little bit of a twist to it still. Okay, it's a little better. I'll just set it in the water for a second, pull it out. Pretty hot. Give it an opposite twist. Opposite twist. Release it. You don't want to do this all at once, like leave it in too long. You just want to dip it quickly, pull it out quickly, and give it a twist. Just do it multiple times, and then this way you won't cause any damage to the model kit. So you can see it's a little more flat now. Okay, so if I just go back again one more time, I think we'll be okay here. Give it a twist here. Sitting straight on there now. I think we got it. It's nice and straight. See that? Now I just gotta give the roof a little shove over. Give that a little hold. You want to give it a little further of a hold than what it should be at, and it'll come back in position. Plastic has a bit of memory. When you heat it up, should kind of come back to shape too. See how it's, I put a little bit of heat onto it and I didn't hold the body, now it kind of went back. Let's see if I can get that straight there. I know this seems extreme, but it's what it takes to get it straight sometimes. Just a little more, eh? Just a little. That seems okay, actually. think we got it. Look at the body, it's nice and straight. You can check the bottom edge to the bottom edge, and the rear sail pan to the front panel there. So the only thing I think that bothers me is this roof is a little bit cockeyed here, so I'm going to see if I can get that over a little bit. Very hot water. Okay. Give that a little bit of a hold. A little bit of steam. Okay. Just a little more on the body. Hold and give it a little bit of a twist here. Alright, I think we got that body pretty good now. If you look, it's nice and straight. No issues, the C-pillars come up at the same angle. So that's how you straighten a body that's crooked. So this is the body for the 24-hour build. I'm doing this ahead of the build because I should be able to start with a straight model, and everything else I'll do on the 24 hours. Thanks. Alright guys, it's 11:54, 6 more minutes to go. $11:59, less than a minute to go. Oh, 12 o'clock. Alright, here we go. We start. So, let's get into this. Get everything out of the box here. Alright. Let's get started. Instructions, don't need those. Chassis, body, hood. Those are all things I'm going to start with here. Hood hinges, get that stuff on. Also, I want to get this stuff dechromed, so I'm going to get that in sauce right away. Okay, so I got all my chrome bits here. I'm going to fit all these pieces into a bag, and then I'll put that in the sauce. The reason I'm dechroming it, this chrome is kind of terrible. There's a lot of things on it. I'm just going to bring it back, get some more detail out of it. So I'll just knock all this off here. Now I know I'm wasting my time trimming these wheels, so I'm not planning on using them, but I'll just get them in there. Depends on how time goes. I got to do the modifications to accept AMT wheels, so that see how that goes. So I'll leave those as a plan B. I'm going to just sort of knock this down so it fits in the bag closer to the bottom, and you don't have to use as much sauce here. Okay, let me just go get that in solution. This is a degreaser. I put it in the bag. I don't have to use as much. It'll get everything, contact with everything, and that chrome will come off. In about 30 minutes I'll be able to clean this off. Okay, discard these. Body, chassis. Okay, let's start here. Should have put a new blade in to start with. Should have had all that stuff ready first, right? Okay. Just going to give this a little bit of a cut. I don't want to break it off and take some of the plastic with it, part of the hood, so that's what I want. Put these hinges on. It's just make sure the hood fitment is nice. have a sanding board like this for just cleaning up edges, making them straight. If it's too tight of a fit, you when you go to paint this, it'll actually be too tight. Hood may bind. This paint adds a certain thickness to the whole thing. Perfect. Take the edges off. Use a little bit of this is 600 wet dry sandpaper, and I'll be using it wet a little bit just to give it a quick rundown, but for now just gonna clean up the edges dry, take off any flash. On the hood here. Before I paint this, I have to, since I dechrome the grill bar, it's going to get glued to this, and then I'll pick it off after. So, still got to wait for the chrome to get dechromed, but the reason I'm starting with this, the hood is, one, I have a set of hood hinges that I want to glue on. These allow you to have the hood in the down position as well as in the up position. Keeps the hood on the model. It's quite a clever design, and I like it. You might say it takes away some of the detail, and that can be true, but for this I'm going to use them, and because I use this plastic magic glue here, which I just love it. It basically welds it, but it dries fast in a sense. You can put it on and it's ready to go, but it also takes a bit to actually cure and harden. I'm just going to add more. You got to really get this wet because it softens the plastic, doesn't add anything, so it makes it very strong after. Nothing worse than having parts fall off your model. It drives me nuts. So I get that really wet in there. When I get that really wet, that's going to just be a really strong bond. So I got to do the same on the other side. And I'll just add a little more. These little notches go to the outside. They actually correspond with the fender so that the hood doesn't slide off, or when you're picking up the model, which is nice. Okay. Also allows me to sit here and make sure that they're straight. And now I can set that aside. Okay. Model down your body. Let's get rid of this center thing here, support. Just gonna thin it out a bit so I don't. If you just were to rip this out of here, you could take some of the plastic of the fender with you. So I'm gonna cut this in half. And by making those cuts, I can just yank those, just knock them down, and then get in there and maybe cut it off. Or there we go. Should be able to just knock those off. Leaves just a little bit of flash that I can just take off with the edge of my knife, just like so. Won't have to do much body work on these inner fender wells. They come out pretty nice. Okay, next thing I want to do is glue in the firewall and the rad support, because it's all going to go body color, and the model may want you to put it in later, whatever, but I'm just going to get that in there because it's also going to give me strength on that body. Okay, you just have to clean up a little bit of this. Because the glue that I'm using, you want to make sure the rad support will fit in, but you don't have to, for instance, if you have a little bit of flash along here, the glue will melt that flash and it'll become a better bond because it gives you more plastic to work with. So we'll get that in. Just be generous with your glue here. Okay. Just let that run into the, fits tight up against the fenders. You don't have to glue it right to the sides because you want some movement and flex here to get the chassis in later. Give it a good squeeze. Really gives a good bond. Make sure your fenders are lined up nice as well. Be a nice end result. Now if this glue does get on something else, don't worry, it'll evaporate. Just don't rub it with your brush because it'll create a brush stroke. It'll be like brushing wet paint, so just let that get in there and cure. And that's why I'm putting these pieces in first, so it has time to dry so I can get the next step going here. Just take off the flash best I can. Again, these firewall details, they're going to be picked off with paint after, so I'm not worried about losing the chance. When this is in the body, I can still get that in there. This fits up in here like that. There we go. Perfect. I mean, that piece, you know, if you wanted, you wouldn't even have to glue that in. It'd probably stay there when you assemble it. But anyway, I'm going to glue that in. So I'm going to start by getting a bunch of glue on this surface here. Get that up in there. Got a bit of a squeeze there. Now I need the body to be able to flex out to get the chassis in. So you don't want to glue the sides here, but I do want to get as much strength in this as possible. So I'm just going to glue in the top, sort of top quarter, if you will, and then this glue, just be generous. Let's get in there, make a good bond. In some ways, you're taught to use less glue when you're building a model. With plastic magic, sort of the opposite is true. If you don't put enough on, the part won't stick because it evaporates and dries out before you can actually get a good bond. So you want to use a lot of it. That's why those dinky brushes they give you. Now if you're doing like some fine gluing, you need a small brush. That's definitely key. So that's in there good. We'll let that set up and dry. That's our engine bay. We just have to add our master cylinder and wiper motor, I think, on this thing. So we'll get that once it comes out of the chrome. Can get that to happen there. And one of the things I want to talk about, I got this hood scoop out of a 64 Dodge and by Lindbergh, and this hood scoop will probably end up on here. So let's we're going to do that too, but I'm just going to knock off these pins here and just see how that fits. I haven't really tried it yet. So I'm going to do that. Okay, just check those. Good, Everything's good. Okay, what's next here? Let's get the chassis trimmed off. This is, you might ask, why am I not going after the instructions here? I have gone over the instructions lots, just sort of to see where the pieces go. And so that being said, I need to, I'm putting stuff together the way I feel it should go. And I think I helped somebody put one of these together a while ago, where I don't remember everything about it, so hopefully I don't paint myself into a corner, right? Okay, that's good there. Oh yeah, another piece I want to get going on. A couple of pieces. One will be the dashboard. It's two pieces, so I got to get that together. Let's trim off the exhaust here. Get painted later. Drive shaft. Knock that off. As I get pieces off the tree, I kind of eliminate what I don't need. Okay, I need the interior sides. And the engine block halves. Oh, and this front piece, this is important, that goes body color, so that's part of our body work. This goes between the grille and the bumper, so we'll want that. This is all engine stuff for the most part. This is body, but I don't think we're going to use these scoops, but I'll pop them out of here. Maybe an option. Engine block halves, let's get those glued together. I'll take off the oil pan. The distributor, I'm just going to knock out a piece of tree here because I don't want it to get lost. It's such a small piece. It's part of the engine stuff. Okay, I'm just going to leave this tree actually together. Just going to knock out what I don't need. Knock all that out of there. Okay, so here. Rear end key member. Oh yeah, dash. I want to get these two together. Fell right off the tree there. This piece here, interior tub part, floor pan, and the seats. These are pieces that are going to take some time getting them to dry. And this is part of the rear end here, shocks. Important. This stuff can get painted. Things like radiator shell, or fan shroud I should say, they can get put together and painted as one. Both go the same color. Radiator hose. This is perfect. Breaking this down. Usable pieces here. seats. Let's trim them. Actually, the next most important piece of this model to get glued so it stays good, takes most of the time. Okay, be this interior tub, so let's glue the sides onto that. Now, I'm not going to pre-paint them and glue them because the thing about glue is it doesn't like to stick to paint. So let's get caught up in what I did here. Sides, here we go. So this is good. Not too much flash to take off of this. Pins there. Good. Okay. It's going to be hard to get some paint on the bottom sides of those. Always test fit your pieces, see how they fit, and then do your gluing. Make sure there's no interference with anything. Okay. Just hold the bottom of that door panel up. Same on the other side. Now this is what happens, these interior tubs, and why I got to glue it now, because you see how there's a little bit of tension on that. I want to get that up, and so I'm just going to go ahead and get some glue on there and then do the other side as well. Like I said, what this glue does is basically welds it together. It's not really a glue as much as it's like a solvent. It's nice and wet. Man, will that weld together. Perfect on that side. Push it down. Now this is a Plymouth GTX, and the GTX has this sort of special bucket sort of style seat, split, you know, in the back with the special package tray. Going back to a Belvedere, there's some changes that would have to be made, and so this will be just a custom GTX. That's what I'm going to do. It's not going to be, so all the Mopar fans out there that like things original, I'm changing it up, and I know that nobody in their right mind would do this to a GTX. So but I want to do a little bit of a custom twist to it. So also I want to dedicate this build to Nick's Garage. He's not a model channel, he's a car channel. If you go, I have a automotive based channel too, Marko's Garage, And Nick's Garage is a big Mopar shop in Montreal, and he's a real specialist and knows what he's talking about and knows what he's doing when it comes to restoring and fixing vintage muscle cars in that era. And he'll tell you what correct bolts should be in and all that stuff. So if you ever want to check that out, if you're a Mopar guy and you like building models, even though he's a car guy, you can learn a lot from him if you want to do things correctly. So that's why I know that I'm definitely not going to be doing this model justice in its form of being a genuine off-the-line Mopar. Because one, the first thing is I'm not even using the correct paint color for the car, so it's going to be custom just because of the paint. So yeah, you have to just, this is time consuming. You have to hold this. There's nothing you can do. Thankfully, I'll only have to hold it for another couple of minutes, and this will be as strong as ever. So it's a good idea. You just check. This glue has some time. You can kind of work with it. It's very strong. Like I can pick up the hood by that piece, but it gives you time to actually, push it down, get it into place. And this is where I like this better than working with a CA glue, because like a super glue or something like that, or a mercury adhesive, it dries so fast that like in this case, you see I pushed that down and I squeezed out some of the plastic that you can trim off when it dries. But I know I'm getting a good solid bond in there, and also that it's sitting in the right spot. You don't have to worry about the interior tub not fitting in the model because the side panel didn't get put in right, or there's a gap here or something, there's a piece of plastic you missed. You can actually overcome that by just working these pieces together. And also makes, you can just see it's just welding that together. It's like one piece when it's done. You don't have to worry about that coming apart. So I think that we're good. We'll just pick that up in a minute and check to make sure that everything is okay. Same with my hood hinges here. I can check that now in the car and see that they're in the right spot, and they are. You can see how it's kind of a clever design. It'll hold the hood up, and so it'll look nice when you want to display the engine, but it'll also go down so you can display the model with the hood down. So it's a good idea. Moving on to other interior parts. Getting this two-piece dashboard together. One of the mistakes I've seen, I buy kits that have been built by people just for kit bashing parts, things like that. And I have a couple of these where the dash pad got glued on the top like this, and then it doesn't fit in the model. When in actuality it goes ahead of, this is basically your dash pad. This is metal. This doesn't have any material on it. So if you were to paint this car with a blue interior, for instance, you would actually paint this the color blue, like the metal work. You would do all the metal work on the bottom of the dash, and then you'd have a silver stripe, and then this would be actually a black dash pad on the top. So but this interior is all going black. So just for simplicity, I only got 24 hours to build this, so you have to not necessarily cut corners, but do what you can. That's kind of where I'm at. So I'm just going to take my 600 grit and just take off. There's a little bit of a flash edge on the top here, and I just want to make that smooth. I don't want to have any sort of, I want that to look like a nice dash pad before I glue that other piece on. Because you'll probably see through the windshield glass, you're going to see that top of the dash for sure, so you want that to look good. And then we'll take the edge off the front here of this. Just a little bit of an edge. Very nice. Perfect. So I'm going to heavily put a bunch of glue on the top here. Now again, if you get glue on here, just don't touch it. If you try to wipe it off, you're going to smear the plastic. So no big deal, just get it together. And there's not much of a glue point here, so it's not the strongest joint. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually cut some styrene. I get this small rod here, and it's nice to use in there. Just give it a little cut. Set that in there. Then you take some glue and you put it on top of that rod. And what that does is just give you more surface area of gluing to the top, to the dashboard there. So that it gives you a chance to give that a bit of a squeeze. Sometimes you just give that a little bit of a wash away with your brush there. And just give that a push so it's got some strength. This is why I'm gluing these pieces first, because it gives this glue time to dry. If I were going to go sand this, it would be like soft. So by letting this set up and harden, I'll be able to actually give it a quick sand, take off any high points just before paint. Just going to check on that interior. Good, nice and solid. See how soft it makes that plastic, but that'll harden and it'll be just trim it off with the knife. Okay, I'm going to cut one more little piece for this dash on the other side. Actually, I already did right here off the other side, so we'll just get that piece. That's good enough to put in here. On the side here. Now the reason I got this dash done right away too is you can now set that in the interior. You don't want to glue it in, just it snaps in. What that does is it'll allow these sides to dry nice and true. Okay, so that's basically to let that dry. And now I want to do the seats. The reason I want to do the seats now is because these got to set up and dry too. There's two halves, and if I got to clamp them or anything like that, I'm just going to get lots of glue on these. This is one of those things that are kind of hard to clamp too, because they can also slip off on you. You want to be careful. They can either go either side, and they can go wrong on you in a hurry. So just give that a good coat of that stuff. squeeze. Looks like 1 feet might be good. Pre-trim this here a little bit. Where not enough glue, but that's okay. You just go around, not a squeeze. After the squeeze, I just give a quick brushing there. Want the seat to be on there nice and straight. Okay. This has given me a good opportunity to just build a model start to finish and try not to deviate from the original. I'm very hard, like even now I'm changing it. Like it'd kill me to just build this thing straight out of the box. So at least I can start to finish a model, but it gives me a chance to build it out of the box, do a few modifications, and actually get all the processes done, because I don't have a choice, just get it done, right? Can't get too fussy. I appreciate that. You can see I'm just trimming off some of the glue that's squeezed out, or plastic I should say, just to give it a little bit of a trim up. Not that you'll never see that anyway. Doesn't matter. But it's my OCD kicking in and my fussiness. Now, one of the things I want to do with this model is I want to build it without a center console. I love 4-gear cars that will have a set of buckets, but the shifter comes right out of the floor. They have a revision for it where your shifter can actually glue. They don't tell you the instructions, but you can put your shifter right on that, or you can put your console on with your shifter. So I'm going to get that shifter in there. Actually, I'm not going to get that shifter in there because it's on the chrome tree and it's busy soaking right now. So let's actually should go check on that. So let me just clean up this piece, because I'm going to have to deal with this one right away. Deal with it right away here. Let's go and check on that stuff here. As you can see, I don't know how long it's been. What time is it? Okay, so it's 12:40, and so 40 minutes, well, about 35 minutes, because it took me some time to get this in here. And all the chrome is coming off of this, off of the parts, so we can get that going soon. So hopefully it'll come off soon here. Okay, well, I'm waiting for that to happen. I still have a lot to do, so that's okay. We'll just set the interior over here. These seats, will just double check, make sure they're Working. That's good. Now, I have some big modifications planned here. I gotta make this steel axle instead of these pins. So I have some work I want to do to these. So let's start getting this apart because this is going to take some time. But again, this can take time, but my paint job is somewhat more important. So we'll just get this sort of off the tree. And I gotta just study this a little bit and see what I want to do. Okay, there's the fan. Just knock that out of there because that's important. 4-blade fan. I can go in with the engine stuff. Oil pan, belts and stuff. There we go. And just have a couple things on this tree, but I'll keep them on here for now. Get rid of the rest. So, let's see about that. These are the wheel backs. These cars came with a 14-inch wheel, the GTX. And if you look, at the size of the tire, and this is an AMT tire, the overall size is a little bit smaller on the Monogram or Revell tire, but the center hole is smaller on the AMT. So that's I don't think the wheel size on this car is correct. The overall tire size is probably good, but the wheels look more like a 15 or maybe even a 16-inch, which wouldn't happen. That's part of the reason why I don't like using these, but to save some space, I'm just going to clip these tires off here. Alright. Okay. Glass, I don't have to really touch any of that yet. I'm just going to keep it in this bag so it doesn't get scratched up. I put it in a Ziploc. Over there. Okay, this is all in place. Still got some thing with the body there. I'm just going to test fit parts. This is very important to do, especially big parts like your chassis. Fits good. Fits good. Oh, the body's still got a little bit of a twist, but I think it'll come out okay. Alright. So I'm going to go around and trim up a lot of the flash on the body edges. Let's give that a little bit of a... I always take my knife edge and just, you know, if you're not comfortable with that, you can just use sandpaper, but just take off there's always a mold line in there, and you don't want to see that mold line on the inside of the wheel well. The actual parts would attach to a tree at some point. Give that a quick little cutaway. Okay. Glue the back bumper to the back of this, so I'm going to add a piece of styrene to the bottom of the trunk lid to give you something to actually mount that rear piece to. So, save a bunch of time. I was going to take the GTX off and this bottom stripe off, but I don't think I'm going to do that because it's going to take a lot of time. So we're just going to leave those. I'll keep it as a GTX, a custom GTX. Let's go with that. Save me some time. Okay, so I'm going to get, let's get these two engine halves together. Now, one of the things I want to show you how I build an engine. Engines usually come with these little bullets and alignment pins and things like that you glue together. This one actually fits very nicely. I probably could just go ahead and glue that, but what I want to do is take a moment to show you how I build an engine. So the first thing I do, I just sand these on the board flat, and I get two nice flat halves. Okay. And then when I put these together, it allows me to line everything up with my eye and get it as good as I can get. So that's for me. And I don't even worry about cleaning up any flash right now because I'm going to use this glue and it's going to get squeezed together, and then I'll clean it after it sort of dries. So this is going to take the most amount of time. So I'm just going to get this done so that it can start drying, and then I can build the engine really kind of after I get some other things maybe on the paint. How's it going? Alright, so I got the engine block lined up here. What I always try to do is, this is the hardest part to line up. Sometimes with the pins, you'll have a big heavy ridge on one side, and so by doing the taking the pins off, it allows me to actually line this up the way I want it lined up. And then what I do is I go ahead and I get this thing clamped. In this case, I'll use a clamp like that there. Maybe one on the transmission, one on the very tail shaft. This one's really important because sometimes when you build these models, you don't get the right amount of glue in here, and that it doesn't stick, and the tail shaft will split because it's very thin there. So anyway, I just get a lot of extra glue and I just run it right down the whole seam of the engine. Now, I wouldn't do this with like Tamiya glue or anything. This is really what I love about using this plastic magic. And I'm just going to squeeze that tail shaft together. And I'll let that sit and dry, and then I'll show you what my next step is, what I do with the engine block. Okay. Now this piece here gets painted body color, and on a Chrysler you can either do like a full-on paint job underneath where it's all body color and then glue your suspension in, or you can do a fade, kind of like the way it was done from factory. In any case, on this model, whatever happens, this piece fits in here like this, and then the grill fits on this side and the bumper fits over. And so since this is body color and I'm going to be spraying all of this body color, I'm going to glue this onto the chassis so it stays nice and strong, so when I paint it, it's there. But I'm going to glue it on with the body in place so that I can make sure it's centered. You'll notice there's a couple of guide pieces here, and that's what I'm going to glue to. So I'm going to get the glue out here. Be generous with it because it's going to get some time to dry here. that piece goes in. Give it a good squish. And give that a little bit of a brush there. Okay, so there's that piece in here. Looks like it lines up good. Now I don't have the grill out of the sauce yet to check it, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll check it after, but it's nothing I couldn't probably clean up to make fit. So now that'll be part of the chassis. This will be part of the body, but when I spray the body and spray the chassis, all body color, then we pick off the control arms and things like that. That's where that's going to make the difference. Now, next thing we get to, grill needs a couple more minutes here. Should use something quicker. It's easy off or something. Anyway, it'll be okay. Things are going fairly smooth so far. So what I'm going to do is get this hood scoop on. I've decided that this is what I want to do for sure. For sure, we want to do that. So there's a cutout for a hole here, and then there's all these little divots that you would drill out. I think it's these two for the hood scoops. And this is probably for another release where they actually put this hood scoop on. But this hood scoop isn't the hood scoop out of this model. This is a Lindbergh hood scoop. So that's okay. Just going to make a mess of this. Okay. Actually, it's another thing I gotta get rid of is the mount for the hood ornament. Alright, just give that a little bit of a scuff here. looks good. So now I'm going to knock this out. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite tools. This is for drilling body holes in a RC car bodies back when I was racing. And you could take this hole and try and cut that out round, but what I'm going to do is show you. Get my drill a hole right in the middle of this. I don't know if I'm going to get right in the middle, I hope so. No turning back now. We're damaged it, so it's there. So we got a hole right in the middle, and I'm going to take my reamer tool, and I'm just going to keep working it. See how nice? If you ever want to take headlights out or anything like that, this is a very nice tool for that. You can just, whatever size hole you want, once you get a pilot hole made, you just keep turning this. And so anyway, I'm just going to work this all the way till we get to that size of the hole. I'm just going to go a little bit on each side. Just take your time with this, don't rush it, because another thing you can do if your hole is not centered, now you can take your knife and just take a little bit out on the side that you want to go so it's centered, and then keep working your tool here. Kind of keep going. Just got to be careful when you get to the big stuff. It takes torque, and you don't want to rush this or damage the plastic. So you just gotta go nice and slow. Just let the tool cut. Don't push it. Just let it. Sometimes you gotta pull back. It wants to go in pretty fast. So that'd be nice to leave that little ridge detail there. Wouldn't that be kind of nice? Let's see if I can do that, because that would be super cool looking on the inside to leave that ridge detail. That's what I'm going to do. Turned out really nice. A little bit of ridge detail. It looks like it was molded there or stamped into the hood. So that looks actually better than if I just made a hole. So there's the hole. Now I'm just going to use my knife and just give that a little bit of a trim, just to smoothen it out a bit. Use my little 600 grit sandpaper and just take off anything. Just take off some of the pieces there. Test fit that on the car. There we go. And now we can put our hood scoop on. Sandpaper work. Take off anything funny. Alright. Goes. Just going to take this here and give it a little bit of a sand. Just to make sure I got some flat surface here to glue to. Flash off of there. Perfect. Give that a little bit of a taper cut. on something like this, instead of putting a bunch of glue, just do a couple of coats to get it, because the first coat will evaporate. And because it takes time to line this up, you don't want glue all over the hood. You don't want to smear it. Line that up the best you can. That sticks fast, boy, I'll tell you. Oh. Tip number 2. There we go. That's more like it. You guys always see me use that pointer. I like to use that just sometimes in corners. Roll the plastic off. There we go. Now we got a functioning hood scoop. Perfect. Now, I'm just going to run a little bit of glue on this to make sure that it's good, now that we're in the right spot. And I feel like we're in the right spot. It looks really good on that. Look at that. Does that turn out nice? Okay. Perfect. Now, I'm just going to give this the quickest like that of glue. The glue will evaporate. Gives me a chance to get glue in the seam there. I know the hood scoop's glued down like that, and that will turn out just beautiful. Okay. Now you don't want to go ahead and put a clamp on this. If you do, it'll squish it out. You just want to use your fingers, gentle. Just push on it along the edges, and just, you know, and that will be good. So that can dry now. Our hood is basically ready for paint. Now we can undo the clamps on our engine. Is that something that requires good amount of pressure? More. And while it's still soft, as you see what happens here, it's kind of a soft plastic at this moment. You can go ahead with your knife and it's basically cleaning flash off, but it's really soft and easy to do because the glue's not fully dry yet. But that will save you some time in the long run. But I'll show you how I like to deal with a lot of this flash on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just trim off some of the heavy stuff. Okay. Alright, so we'll let that dry. I'll show you how to assemble an engine, or how I assemble an engine, should you say. Everybody has their own way, and if you know how to do something and you do it well, don't deviate from that. There's a lot of tips and tricks I've seen over the years that work for other people and don't work for me, and there's things that I do that other people are like, what are you doing? Like, I would never even do it that way. So my advice to anybody is, if it works for you, don't deviate from it. Yeah. Okay. I've seen that happen with paints. Guys really good with paint jobs. They see something, a new product, or they hear something from somebody else, and it all goes wrong for them. And they were doing great paint jobs before. So if you're doing good paint jobs, why change it? Why change it? So that's my advice to anybody. If you like what I do and you want to try it and it works for you, good. And that's what I like to do. So okay, I need my little vacuum. Alright, now we can start on the pieces I need to work on. Oh, actually, I should maybe go get that chrome. It might be done. Let's get rid of this tree here. This is another handy tool that I picked up back. It's actually recent because when I was racing remote control cars, we didn't really have these. This is obviously for quadcopters, you know. So, but if you have small parts and you don't want them rolling off your workbench, it's a great idea. You put them in here, and then if you bump the table or something, it's not going anywhere. So that's kind of neat. Okay. K-member. Dodge K-member. These holes should be holes, so I'm going to make those holes. It's a little detail that will take probably 10 minutes out of my life. I know on this challenge 10 minutes is 10 minutes, but I'm going to put them in there because it'll just give a little bit more detail. And I think I have the time. So file set. Just looking for a drill. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to just start by drilling some holes. These holes can be sort of random, but I just use it as a guide. If you get it into a corner, it kind of helps round the corner, but the knife will do that too. So just do that. And then just drill holes in each end like that there. Just like that. Then just take my snips and just get brutal with it here and just cut a couple of pieces out. Once you get a couple of holes and some slots like that, you can just take your knife and cut away a little bit at a time. You don't have to go nuts, just shave it away. And just take your time at it. You don't have to rush. If you rush, you can end up breaking something. It's not worth just, you know. Just holding this thing, there's some delicate pieces. These are the torsion bars, so the torsion bar suspension, and they're kind of fragile. So you want to just stay away from breaking those off with your fingers while you're holding this. It's a subframe, so if the edges are not 100% perfect, it probably came off the factory that way. Have you ever seen some of the welds on these cars? They're pretty terrible. I had a 76 Chrysler Newport. Now I know on the 76 probably the quality control was worse, but this car only had like 16,000 miles on it. It was original. I put a 446 pack in it, and I really enjoyed the build on that car. I enjoyed owning it and driving it. I didn't enjoy the gas mileage, and I didn't enjoy the fact that I couldn't park it inside my garage. So it was just too nice of a car, so I ended up just selling it to somebody who could hopefully take care of it, and I hope it's in good hands now. But anyway, I was underneath the car looking at the subframe. It didn't have a K-member like this, but the welds on it were just, sometimes the weld would be a half inch beside where it was supposed to be. It wasn't doing anything, so it was kind of funny. I was watching a YouTube video of a guy who had a subframe for a car. I can't remember if it was a Camaro or whatever. I think it was a Camaro, and people were like complaining about the welds like he did them, and no, that's just, I think that's just factory. So some people take their cross members and they weld again on top and fix them up a bit, make them stronger. They're just basically stitch welded. Anyway, giving you a little bit of history lesson on cross members, right? Also want to be careful not to cut yourself, which I always do when I'm doing this. Finger got in the way. It's okay, it'll heal. The best thing about modeling is when you do cut yourself, you just grab the super glue and just glue yourself back up again. Not a big deal, keep going. Okay, so there you go. Real time, cut that out, and it just makes the subframe look a lot better. Now, one of the things I need to do is I want to make this, be able to put an axle in here, so I'm going to cut this tube to the width that I need it. A little bit wider, actually. You can always sand it down and make it beautiful. So that's what I'm going to do here. Trim, a little bit of a trim. Cut myself pretty good on that, actually. It's bleeding. Might have to get the super glue out. So the width is, I just want it just over the springs. There's not a lot of wheel well in this car, and where the springs sit, I think I'm going to have to get this close to the edge here. I'm just going to make sure that the width is good, a little bit more. This is going to help me with two things. One is to line this up when I glue this back together. Yeah, perfect. Basically, and also I don't have to try to fight with it after. I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to go ahead. I know that's the piece I need. And here we go. Let's cut all this out of here. That's that side. Try not to mix up the sides that they go on. So I'm going to use the chassis of the automobile to keep the right side on the right side and the left side on the left side. So I'm just going to trim off the axle. Completely. Set that in here. Okay. All right. Now, do is just file out the middle. Okay, so you file out the piece there on the leaf spring so that it can fit around the axle like this, and we'll do the other side. Okay. So trim this one up. So now I got my leaf springs, they're not glued in, they're just set in place. So what I'm going to do, I'm just using this as a jig to install this axle. What I'm doing is I'm just putting a bit of this glue on the bottom. I bring this axle up in place. Check how this sits. And bottoming. Okay. All right. Now, there you go. That's the step 2 or 3, whatever we're on. I know you're saying it doesn't look like a differential. We'll get there. We'll get there. So I'm just going to let that sit and dry. While that's drying, I'm going to work on the center pumpkin part. So let's just sit in there, just make sure it's good. Okay, I'm going to go check on the dechroming process here. Okay. All right, things back from dechroming. I think I'll just glue in there now. interior piece there. This is one of the pieces I want to make fit without, it's not much to glue to here. I want to kind of make that fit in there better. Or have something more to glue to, I should say. One of the things it allows me to do is like glue on this plate holder without any issues. And if you notice, there's actually imperfections right in the bumper, so that allows me to sand that out, and then I can just spray it with the other chrome on top. It's not going to be as lustrous as the other chrome, but that's okay. I don't really like how lustrous the other chrome can be sometimes, so this is the way I like to do it. Valve covers. Look at that over there. GTX logo in the seat. Put that over in the seat. Get that in there. There you go. Well, that's there. Might as well install that. Gas cap, fuel cap, just putting some stuff on here to clean up the desk. A lot of pieces here. This is a nice way to get pieces on. Looks better in the end. Next one will be door handles. That's going to be a tricky one. I'm going to get those on the car before I paint it. And this tachometer. I want to put that with my dashboard. I'm going to put it right under here. Either put it right on the dash, right under the dash. I kind of like that. I really like that actually. Put that right there. Yeah, right there. Oh. Okay. Let's let that dry. And heat it up after. I'm going to put the tachometer right there. Okay. Now, let's continue on with this rear end. You're probably wondering how I'm going to get that done. So, I'll just snip it where it kind of gets a little bit down to the axle part here. And cut this right in half here. I'm going to try and keep the bottom half. I don't really need the top half. You won't see it flying anyway. I'm just going to clean this stuff off. So what I'm left with is this. And I'm just going to evenly clean that up. Okay. And trim that off. Okay. Back in the vise. I've already committed to this, so anyway, these wheels in the kit won't be used, or tires. My air cleaner. All right. Good enough. now I can put this on. That's what I'll do. Line it up so your pinion angle is right. You don't want it to look funny. Then your pinion, and then hang it off the top here, the front. It's most important to get right, so let's do that one next. Out. You basically just paint that differential with glue. No big deal. Okay. Now I just got to do the back. all you're doing, you're creating the illusion the differential is there. Okay, so when you put that back together, what you're going to see is the differential. Now, we can cut our axle to fit that and our wheels. So, I have to get into these wheels here. These are the rear ones. Front wheel, sorry. There's a rear wheel. And front wheels here. Fit in there. Wheel tire combo. How does that look? Good, won't it? Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Guessing. Okay. I gotta get some more glue in my bottle. Just give it a time. Okay. Oh, my back is killing me. Oh, that's probably the worst part about this. Is my back being bent over. It's hard to, kind of hard on the back. These shocks here. rear shock detail in place. Now we got to cut an axle. I don't know where I did an axle from. Where did I get the axle from here? Somewhere here. Right here. Right here somewhere. One. That fits. Perfect. Okay, so our rear suspension, wheels, everything's set up. This we can just pull out. It's not glued into the chassis because I have to spray the chassis color and the rear end goes black. There we go. Okay, it's 2:28 a.m. and Sunday. And where are we at now? We got the chassis done. That orange overspray like a Chrysler. Dodge got the wheels done. I wanted the red line tires, but these red line tires are sort of a silicone tire, and there's this red insert that makes the line, and anyway when I go to stretch the tire over the rim it just pops the red line out. So I went with hollow AMT white lettering tires. Exhaust is in, rear shocks are painted, suspension's done, dry brushed. That's it. Now I still got to do the engine, which is what I'm going to do now. I got to detail the grill. I got the valve covers and stuff done up here, if you can see. Intake is done in aluminum. I got to detail the carburetors, and those crinkle black valve covers for Hemi is done, and the battery is done. So that's good. Interior is all painted black. I just have to go and pick out some details. Radiator's done. Body is painted as well. There's the body. It just has to dry a little more. So it's done. If the tape worked out, then the headliner's already painted black. So this is ready to be details picked out, assembled. And of course the hood is done. So what I wanted to do was just talk to you about the way I do engines. I said I would do that. So one of the things I wanted to do is show you how I take out the seam where the intake goes, and I block every part of the engine till it's flat. I also do where the cylinder heads go. Nice and flat, so it's got good adhesion, and there's no gaps or anything. So anyway, that's basically everything else. I did all the cleanup around the transmission and stuff, and so the front cover intake would go on here once the engine's painted. And again, I'll take that intake manifold and I'll run it so when it goes down on here, it's a nice flat surface. Also, I'll do the same with the valve covers, so that there's a nice glue point with no, if they were chrome I would do this, if they're painted I do this. so that the glue sticks really well. Same thing with the battery now. Alright, so I just wanted to show you that process. So anyway, I'll get the cylinder heads on. Gotta love a Hemi. Okay, I test fit everything. Also, I'm going to just sand this side of the cylinder head that meets up with the valve cover, so it's a nice flat surface as well. And any flash needs to be cleaned up. And I'm starting to get tired. 24 hours is definitely enough time to build a model, but all in one go, it's gotta get some sleep, otherwise it's gonna look pretty cattywampus. But we'll see what happens here. Let's clean up the edges. Alright, I need my glue. Don't need this thing here anymore, actually. I always also, another thing I do, I put the cylinder heads on and I check the intake manifold to make sure the alignment is good. See how it doesn't quite seat? So I push the intake down, make sure the heads actually meet the intake manifold properly, and then when I get all that set up, I know I can take the glue and just set these heads. There's no issues. And I just run it like this. I just get it on everything. I mean, all the way around the edges. And these heads will never fall off. You never have to worry about this model. You pick it up off the shelf and a cylinder head falls off or something like that. Okay. Now I'm going to build this, make this front cover fit on here properly. Clean up all the edges. All the flash on the fuel pump. Kinds of places there. Probably good enough for this one. Test fit the piece, always test fit your pieces. It sits really good on there, so I'm just gonna load this up with glue. This plastic magic. This sucker's going on and it ain't coming off. It's got the oil pump detail oil filter here. Just work it right around there. Now the reason I'm brushing this with that glue is what it does, it'll soften any flash that's on the casting, and then it kind of melts it in so that all the detail is very nice and firm and crisp. Now one of the pieces I got to put on is the starter. I'm just going to paint that with the engine. And then I'll pick it off after. all I'm doing is cleaning off the flash. Okay. I'm just making sure it's nice and straight. There's nothing worse than having a starter going off to the side or something like that. I want to make sure it looks like it's, you know, metal and straight and bolted in there properly, even though it's plastic. The whole idea of the model is to represent realism, right? So, put the headers on. Oh, sorry, these aren't headers. These are manifolds. On next. I always do that, is get them on with the engine, then I pick them off with paint after. You're never going to see what's behind there, so you see I wouldn't be able to get that starter in there. It's going to be tricky to even touch that off with paint, but I'll get it done. It's what you see, right? This was a big contest winner. You might try to separate stuff a little more. Like I say, I like the model to stay together. By doing it this way, they'll stay together. Okay. Let that dry up. Then I'll take my knife and I'll trim off some of the flash here. Clean it all up. And I can tell you, I feel like I'm running out of time because I feel like I need to get some rest. And I wanted to do spark plug wires on this engine, but I don't think I'm going to get there. See how it is after I get it painted. Make sure everything's straight. I always double check, triple check, and just hold it in my hands and just make sure everything dries straight so that looks good, fits good. That'll be the way to do it. So this transmission will go cast color, and then the engine will go Hemi orange. Which I'm not even sure if I have Hemi orange. I haven't even found that paint yet. Hope I got something in a brush form or in a spray can. That intake will look nice. I'll put that stuff here. Batteries painted, it can go there. Really, I'm just down to these pieces, and steering wheel I did some chrome paint, and now I'm going to pick off the black. I decided that'd look a little better than the other way around. And then here I got to pick off some silver and stuff like that around the dash. Seats are plastic, and then they're taped off a piece of plastic here, so when you glue it together, you know, it's plastic to plastic. You don't have to worry about the paint. Yeah, looks good. Okay, it's the next morning. I don't have my phone on me, but anyway, it's like 9:30 in the morning here. I got the engine, like the manifolds painted, the transmission and engine definition line done. So now I'm just going to throw on the valve covers and intake. And I've taken my sanding board and had sanded off the paint where the valve covers go so that the glue will stick and hold that down. Already sanded the valve covers, so now it's just a matter of putting them together. Okay, now I'm ready for the intake manifold, which will go here. And to do that, I'm just going to scuff this up with my Dremel so that I have no paint. got the engine in the chassis here. Drive shaft's in. Just gave it a dab of glue. Hold it in place. Rotate there. Okay, let's get that little bit of it out. And just a little bit more engagement on the front. So get the body all painted, and I let it sit, and it's got that tweak kind of back in it, but anyway, should straighten out. Should have just used that other body. The engine's detailed up a little bit. That's all I'm going to have time for. I think the interior's going to have to pretty much go together. Got the radiator detailed. I found my post on the.
Oh, good. Nice. There you go. 2 hours. Oh, good.
So look at this. Yeah, the engine. What do you think? The engine's pretty well.
I think the engine's really good. So 2 more hours and then you're done.
I don't know if I'll get it done. It's terrible. I gotta get some paint on this.
Well, just keep painting and you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine if you just chillax.
Yeah, if I don't panic.
Yeah. I'm just letting you know, so that you're not like thinking that you've got more detail work time, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But at least this gives you a good idea of what you can do in 24 hours.
non ghetto. That's black gray. Shit. This is black. Negro. Negro. Thought I could save it. Just let that sit for a minute while I do the other stuff. Fuck. Come on, I'll tell you what she goes. She'll come on. Oh, boy. Wow. Wow. Holy shit, wow. Oh, wow, 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 wow. Every time I use it, it impresses me, I have to say. Every time. Okay. This is too good to be true. This isn't really happening, actually. Not really happening. There's no way. This is way too good to be true. Okay, and chrome. Chrome, where is it? That's the finest fucking thing I got here. Here we go. Mix it up. How do you think we just put this thing together now with so much detail? Okay. There we go. If you can see that there. Anyway, way too much time on that. Now I gotta get this cleaned up. Alright, well, we're down to the last few minutes of the assembly, and to be honest, I don't think I'm gonna make it. But we'll try. We will try. Okay, the interior's in. Now the chassis. This is going to be interesting here. Thing to get it in here. Nothing to pull on. Okay. There. Okay, and put that into place. Okay. Looks all right. I don't even know. 3 minutes left. 3 minutes left in the build, and it's crunch time. It really is crunch time. There you go. 12 o'clock. And it's not done. It's close. It's close. But it's not done. Oh. Here we are, 12 o'clock. Back bumper's on. I still don't have the backup lights in. The decals aren't on for the things, for the license plate. I had a problem with the rear exhaust. I thought it glued to the chassis, and it didn't. So when I glued it to the chassis, it was in the way of the bumper, and I had to snip them off in haste to get them on there. Interior's done, kind of where I wanted it. There's nothing really more I needed to do. I don't have the wipers on it. I don't have the air cleaner on it. The grill's not on it. The bumper's not on it. Hood, well, hood's just there. Hood could be on. That's not a big deal. So there you go. That's the 24-hour build.
and almost there. Well, anyway, I'll just finish it up and I'll do a review. And thanks for watching.